morning, kids. We all are once again back for a new journey of exploration. Okay, before I proceed further, I'd like to remind you all of a very beautiful moment, of the first rains of the monsoon. When it starts raining, yes, of course, you all run out of the house to get wet in the rain. Okay, that particular rain, that beautiful moment. So before it starts raining, that first monsoon rain, there is a very pleasant smell. You get a very pleasant smell of the ground, right? Just before 2-3 minutes, just before it starts raining. Okay, so have you ever guessed what this pleasant smell is of? What this beautiful, mesmerizing, pleasant smell is of? Okay, can you guess it of what it is? Yes, it's of the mud. Okay, the soil, right? And in the last lecture also we have learned that soil is one of the important factors of nature also. Correct? So today also we are going to learn about the soils, which is one of the important factors of nature. So the name of the next chapter itself is the soils. Okay. Now, how the soil is born, from whom it is born, on what factors is the formation of the soil depends. Okay, so we learn about that. And in this chapter, we learn about the importance also of the soil. The very first person who is responsible for the formation of the soil, very first person. Okay, you're born because of your parents. You all come into this world because of your parents, right? Your parents bring you into this world. In the same way, the soil is also born because of a parent rock. Okay, so the first person who is responsible for the function of the rock is the parent rock. Parent rock means a big rock. Okay, from that rock, different pieces comes out. Okay, it breaks out. Different pieces breaks out. Again, these different pieces breaks up into again smaller pieces, then literally it ends up in fine particles, powdered particles. So this powdered particles, okay, this powdered particles, which is the end product from the main parent rock, this is called a soil. Fine, understood? Okay. Now, the next factor responsible for the formation of the soil, you can say, is the regional climate. That means the formation of a soil in a particular region depends upon the region of a particular climate. Parent rock, different pieces breaks out. One pieces go towards that side, one piece this side, one piece this side. But the soil from that particular rock, the broken rock from the main rock, depends upon the region of the climate. If there is very heavy rainfall and all, there will be yellowish brown soil that side. If there is very less rainfall, then it will be coarse soil, like that. Different types of soil will be formed from the just one parent rock, from the different pieces according to the regional climate. Okay. The next factor responsible is very interesting one. Biotic material. Now, what's the meaning of biotic material? When I speak about biotic, bio means life. Means there are some living organisms in the soil, right? There are some microorganisms in the soil. That's why we call it biotic material, means living organisms in the soil. Okay. So what are these what is the work of these microorganisms? What they do is when these animals and plants die, okay, they get mixed up with the soil, and these microorganisms do some work on these dead plants and animals, decayed materials and all, and they convert them into something called humus. What is humus? Humus is the food for the plants. Plants need food to grow, right? They absorb this humus, these nutrients from the soil. But first, the dead plants and animals have to be converted into humus, and this work is done by the microorganism, means the biotic material in the soil. Got it? The next part, next factor is the time. Now, the layer 2.5 centimeter layer of the soil, it takes around 1,000 years to be formed. Okay, means just 2.5 centimeter layer, just small layer of the soil takes around 1,000 years to be formed. So just imagine, soil is such an important resource for us. Correct? Now they are saying that it's mentioned that heavy rainfall, okay, high temperature, okay, this all exaggerates the growth of the soil. That means exact the formation of the soil completely depends upon high rainfall and temperature. Hmm? So if the temperature is very high, there's a heavy rainfall, means the process of the formation of the soil becomes faster. But if the rainfall is low, temperature is also low, it will take a very long time for the soil to be formed in that particular region. So understood here, these are the factors on which the formation of the soil depends. That is the parent rock, regional climate, biotic material, as well as the time. Okay, now let's come to the next part. That is one of the problems of the soil. Degradation of the soil. One of the problems the soil faces is the what is the meaning of degradation of the soil? Degradation means grade becomes less, means quality of the soil becomes less. Why it becomes less? Okay, the reason I give you is that for farming, the farmers use fertilizers, chemical fertilizers and chemical pesticides, right? Due to this, what happens? These chemicals get mixed up in the soil, and when these chemicals get mixed up in the soil, these chemicals kill the microorganisms in the soil. Microorganisms, as I already explained, they help in preparing the humus, which is the food for the plant. So if these microorganisms are killed, means definitely there will be no humus. Okay, the proportion of the humus decreases in the soil, and as a result, the fertility of the soil decreases. So no food for the plants in that particular soil. The soil becomes infertile, means it leads to the degradation of the soil. The quality of the soil becomes less. Understood? This is called the degradation of the soil. The quality of the soil becomes less due to the excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Okay, so I hope you all understood here. The next part, I would like to state one thing, that earth doesn't mean soil. What does the sentence mean? Earth doesn't mean soil. Means what? Means soil is having two parts. That is, you can say abiotic part and biotic part. Biotic part, I already explained what it is. Biotic, as I said, the living organisms, microorganisms in the soil. And abiotic part means the rocks. Okay, the rocks, you can say, or earth itself. Earth is a part of the soil. So earth itself, I can call it as abiotic part. What is the abiotic part? If you see the potter, for potter, he is not at all concerned with the microorganisms in the soil, but he uses it as a non-living thing, just as an this kind of earth he uses to make the pots. Okay, just he uses the earth to make the pots. It's not at all concerned about the microorganisms. Whereas farmer is concerned about the living organism, that is the microorganisms in the soil, because it is required for the growth of his crops. Okay, so these are the two parts. So it is said that earth doesn't mean soil, means earth is abiotic part. So earth is only a part of soil. whereas soil consists of biotic part as well as abiotic part as well as the biotic part. Both together combined becomes the soil. I hope you all understood it. Okay. Now let's come to the next part. That is soil as vegetation. Why we use soil as vegetation? Soil and vegetation means why we use soil for vegetation. Okay. Now we need, okay, plants need sunlight, plants need water, favorable climate. Okay, but these things are not sufficient. These things alone are not sufficient for the growth of plant. It also needs soil. Why? Because as I said, the food, the main food it plants absorbs it from the soil. The main nutrients the plants get from the soil, because soil is a part where the microorganisms make humus, which is the main food for the plant. So definitely sunlight, abundant water, favorable climate is not sufficient for the growth of plant. They also need soil. Okay. So I hope you all understood till here. Then we have the next part. Rise in river valley civilization. Now here I'll tell you how the river valley civilization came into existence. When in ancient times the man came to know that if he sows seeds in the crops, plant starts growing in that. Okay, we can yield crops from that. So he started sowing seeds. Okay, then later on, after a certain period of time, he experienced that the soil near the river beds, okay, there you can grow more crops in more numbers. So and that also very good quality of crops you can grow there. So he started staying near the river beds. Then later on, all the people, all the humans, settlements started growing near the river beds. Okay, so this gave rise to a lot of human settlements. Okay, this gave rise to human settlements near the river valleys. Okay, people started staying near the river valleys. The group started growing there, and this led to the rise of river valley civilization. It led to the rise. A lot of people started staying near the river beds. Okay, so again I repeat. The experience of the man that when sowing the seeds you get crops, you yield good crops. This led to ultimate result, that is the rise in the river valley civilization. Okay, I hope you understood here. Next part we'll come to is the use of fertilizers in the production. Now, as I said, humus, and explain to you what it is, that the microorganisms convert the decayed things in the soil to humus, right? So the more the humus, more fertility of the soil. But nowadays, artificial chemical fertilizers are used to increase the fertility of the soil, because farmers came to know that if you use artificial fertilizers also, you can yield more crops and good crops. Okay, so that is the fertilizer and agriculture. Then we'll come to the part is the agriculture produced as per type of soil and diet. Now here I can say different crops, okay, flowers, fruits, they all in a region, okay, they grow and they depend, their growth means the growing of the crops, fruits, flowers, all these things depend upon the soil of that particular region. Okay, now for example you can say oranges, Nagpur. Okay, the soil is very suitable for the growth of oranges in Nagpur. Okay, Nashik you have grapes. So it depends upon the soil. Whatever soil you get, according to that the people grow the fruits, flowers and crops in that particular region. As well as you can see the staple diet also depends upon the agriculture produce of that particular region. For example, in the Konkan area, if you go, you'll find paddy fields. There's heavy rainfall, which is very suitable for the growth of the paddy. Paddy means rice crops. Okay, so definitely when rice grows in large numbers in a particular area, definitely it will become, rice becomes the staple diet of those people. So in Konkan area, rice becomes the staple diet of the people simple because the soil is very suitable for the growth of rice in that particular region. So I hope this also you understood. The next part we come to is the advantage and disadvantage of the fertility of the soil. Disadvantage of non-availability of fertile soil means if the soil is infertile in a particular region, if the soil is not fertile in a particular region, it leads to some sort of disadvantage. For example, countries like Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, in these regions, these countries are having infertile soil, means the soil is not at all fertile in these particular regions. So what happens is, to meet their food requirements, they need food, right? People need food there. So to meet their food requirements, they have to import food from other countries. Okay, so they definitely import food from countries like self-reliant countries like India, China, and USA to meet their food requirements. They need to feed the large population of their countries, so they import food from these countries. Then we have the next part is the advantage of the same fertile soil. That's when we have fertile soil. If a particular region is having fertile soil, then the advantage of that is that they become self-reliant, okay, in the production of the food. There is no need for them to rely on other country to feed their population. They are very well self-reliant in the food production for their own people. Okay, plus various factories, agro-based factories flourish in these regions. For example, if a region is producing sugarcane crops, okay, then automatically sugar producing factories develop in that particular region, or fruit processing factories develop in a region where certain fruits are cultivated. Okay, so these are the reasons. Okay, so here we come to the end of our first session, okay, first section I can say of geography, first part of geography. And my next section, in my next session, I'll continue with the next part of the geography. Thank you. Have a nice day.